This is one of those videos that I hope the fuck you guys appreciate me for. I went down a rabbit hole. These tier lists, and I had so much fun watching them. I said, I want to do that. So what's up, Creepers and Geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep. I hope everyone's doing well. I started this video maybe 8 times, 6 times, something like that. And it's because I keep forgetting consoles. Like I forgot the Vectrex and the XEGS at one point. But regardless, I went down the rabbit hole, and it was pretty interesting watching people do this. It's not obviously the first time anyone on the internet has ranked anything. There's just something about this format to me, the visual aspect of it, that seems fun. It opened up a conversation within me, and I hope it does that with you. Now, saying that, please understand, I'm not saying this is the end-all, be-all. I fucking hate that I have to actually say this, Bunch of dumb fucks on this planet. I swear to God, how the hell have we existed as long as we have? Now, I'm not telling you this is how you're supposed to feel. This is all based off of my experiences, my likes, dislikes, and piddly fucking wants and needs in this stupid life that we all share together. So please, for the love of fucking God, I mean, if your feathers get ruffled, by all means, say it, but I'm not telling you that if I put something in the God tier, I put it in the trash tier, that's how you're supposed to feel. In fact, I believe it should be the opposite. So this is how I got it ranked, all right? We got God at the top, no opinion on the bottom. I shouldn't need to explain either one of those. No opinion basically means I either have very limited or no experience at all with the console. Great means pretty much what most people's top list would be. God is reserved for the special ones, Great is where the populace may have been, but in my opinion, how I experienced the console. Good, I experienced it here and there, but it didn't hold too much for me as far as like a nostalgic thing, But it's still a great console. It's worth it. I may even be playing it heavily today. But again, this is based off of whatever. Meh means it's all right, I guess. Maybe I could get rid of that one. Trash again shouldn't take any. It shouldn't need any fucking explanation. So let's get to it. These are the consoles I picked, and I think there might be a few more hiding in here somewhere. But we have the Atari VCS, where for me anyway, started it. All in the beginning, I had a Sears Telegames, and no, I'm not going to do variants. I thought for a while they were about putting like the juniors in, and pretty much every system had one, a smaller version, and we do go all the way to the original PlayStation, as you can see right here. And that's mainly because that's where I stopped buying brand new consoles in what we consider the retro world. But why would I put the Atari 2600 with its square balls and beeps and boops and shit up in the God tier? Well, first of all, if I have to tell you, maybe you need to go to my Atari 101 playlist and understand where this console lays in the history of things. It may not be the flashiest. It may not be the most powerful, and the games may be very rudimentary. In fact, a lot of them are garbage. And would the industry have been where it is without it? Probably, to some degree. Maybe not exactly. I'm sure what this console was able to accomplish, someone else like the ColecoVision and the Intellivision. See, that's where I stopped last time because I forgot the ColecoVision. But for the most part, in the general consensus, this is where it started. This is where most people got, aside from Pong units and dedicated consoles, got their first experience of home gaming. The first console to popularize the idea that the console is insignificant. You just buy the hardware. It's the software you want the consumer to fucking gobble up. Wasn't the first, but the first to make it popular and make it basically the template for video games all the way up into present day, where you buy a machine to hook up to a television, and then you go off and buy another something to stick into that machine. That part's filtering away, I know, but even with the Switch, the little, you know what I mean? God tier. So this is just the way it decided to lay it out. I did kind of manipulate these guys here. I would have liked to have gone with the Intellivision next, but we're going to go with the ColecoVision. And I'm going to put Coleco right here at great. I think its only true Achilles heel is the timing of which it came out and that controller. But maybe the controller also makes it as iconic as it is. It could have been just another system, you know? I do believe this one could have competed with the likes of early Nintendo. If you look at stuff like the SG-1000, that's the basically the Master System before the Master System was the Master System. If that makes any sense to you. It was compatible with the earlier stuff like that. Now, once, of course, the 8-bit generation started moving on, I don't think it could compete it. But if it wasn't for the poor timing and that fucking joystick. I mean, I like tight joysticks, but the size of it needed to be a little bit bigger or something. And, of course, the side buttons and the stupid dial pad. We won't talk about the controls. Maybe we'll do the controllers next. If you have any idea for a tier list that you'd like me to do that's relevant to the channel, let me know in the comments. We'll do that. So, yeah, I'm going to put ColecoVision in great. This is going to probably anger a lot of people. This is probably going to anger a lot of people. Where is this going to go, guys? I'm putting it right here in good. I like the ColecoVision better than the Intellivision. Now, here's the weird thing, because the sounds of the Intellivision, to me, are probably equal as nostalgic as the Atari 2600 ones, if not more. The sound of the crowd, you know the sound with the whistling and the cheering? Whenever I hear that, my brain says, that is video games. I can only put it here because this is based off of my experience with these consoles back in the day. And I only got my hands on it here and there, okay? I enjoyed the time I had with it. I didn't enjoy picking it up a second time, but I have been enjoying it this round. In fact, I've been having a blast with it. I need to pull out my Intellivision and start playing again. And gaming videos will be, gameplay videos will be coming up here pretty soon. I'm starting to get out of my creative rut with the channel. And that's all there really has been going on. So, just a creative rut. Just haven't really been feeling it. But yeah, I would put it in good. I know for a lot of you people, it would be your God or even your great. But if I were to rank the top 3 or the earlier guys, second gen, I guess you would call it, this is literally how I would do it. If I were to go by aesthetics, it would be between Coleco and Intellivision. All right. I unfortunately have to put this in meh. I have so little experience with it. I think I've played a few games emulated. There was a game or two I thought I'd played, and I've mentioned that in the past, but after watching gameplay videos, it doesn't ring a bell. Again, didn't know this existed until well into my adulthood. I have it right there. We just talked about it yesterday. And hopefully it does work. We're going to be plugging it in pretty soon. And I am going to start collecting for this as hard as I do, both the Intellivision and the Atari 2600. I don't own a working ColecoVision. I got a schoolmate that keeps telling me he's got one in a pile of games that he just wants to give me, but he just keeps not producing it, which is fine. I mean, he just want to give it to me or sell it to me or whatever. It's on his dime, his time. So if it takes him 6 years, it takes him 6 years, but regardless, ColecoVision, I can't wait to get my hands into the O2, as everyone keeps calling it. And maybe that'll change. I have a feeling it's going to go in here somewhere once I start using it. And we will revisit this. So, all right. The Atari 5200. I'm putting that in the meh. I'm going to put it in the meh. And you know what? Not for the obvious reasons. You got to remember, the console industry hasn't been established yet, so there were no. It was like the Wild West. They were making it up as they go. So why not let someone else, design the fucking controller? Or maybe that was the 7800. I don't know. But regardless, whatever the fuck happened with this console, the idea of it was amazing. And had they had just done it proper, not try to get all too fancy with it. Innovation's one thing, but if you go too far with it, you get the 5200. You get the 5200. They basically took the popular 8-bit computers, which we will talk about that once I get a little more experience with a few of them. I only have like 3 or 4 of them. So, and I've played the Commodore, which I do not own a Commodore. But regardless, and I still will put the Odyssey in that list as well, because it is technically a computer. You know, it's got a keyboard and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, they had a great idea. That would have advanced video games and then some. But this is where Atari's bad decisions started happening. And going back to the Atari 2600, as far as it being a god tier, if anything, the Atari 2600 taught us what not to do in the industry, along with this guy here. So, whatever. You can say what you want about the controllers. You can say what you want about the system itself, the way they decided to handle the power thing, the 4 controllers versus the 2 controllers. They were trying to innovate, but I think they went a little too fucking crazy with it. And they should have just, just went the straight and narrow, because the cartridges look great. The aesthetic of the console looks great. It's a little excessive, but you don't know what ended up happening. It's frustrating to collect for, but it's worth experiencing anyway. But we will be getting to a console later on, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that basically is the 5200 that works. The Atari 7800, bam! Yeah, you can call me an Atari fanboy. I don't give two fucks. But honestly, I mean, this kind of contradicts a few things. I didn't really have much experience with it. You know what? I'll put it here, only because of that reason. But as a console, it's great. Think about it. You know what? Fuck you. It's my list. I'll do what I want. Backwards compatibility with the Atari 2600 out of the box, whereas the 5200 had to have a fucking ugly-ass apparatus to fucking do it. Not to mention the ColecoVision, you could do it. And the Intellivision eventually, too. Did you know that? The Intellivision had an Atari 2600 peripheral, too. God, those days were awesome. We need to revisit those in new discussions. But the only, you know what? Fuck. The only thing about the 7800 is they fucked up with this one, too, as far as timing is concerned. And they just put it on the back burner. And then when the NES came out, they were like, oh, don't we have something like that? And this should have been obsolete by then. Had the chip been a little bit different, the sound chip, and, of course, Nintendo didn't have an illegal stronghold on other developers, I do believe it could have competed. I really do. In fact, there's a few games like Xevious I like better on this than I do the NES. So, I don't know. It could go here, or it could go here. I wish there was a middle tier. I wish I'd put one here that's, wishy-washy. But I'm going to put it in great simply because of the catalog. Okay? Atari 2600 and 52 and 7800 games. There's a wide catalog there. And again, going back to another one of the things with this console and this console, they didn't have many developers, so it's like they kept just rehashing the same thing, rinse and repeat, No, nothing really new was coming out. I mean, there were some innovative games. I mean, Ball Blazer was awesome, though. That was on a whole bunch of other things. Ninja Golf. Ninja Golf's a great game. We got to play that here pretty soon. And, the one Grandpa Monster, the Mutant something or other. I can't remember. My apologies, but that's a great game, too. I would have loved to fucking play that game. So next, we have a Fairchild Channel F, and there was another name for it. This one I'm going to put directly right here. I have zero experience with one. That's not necessarily true. Actually. I own one. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it's funny because Willie of Arcade USA, I guess his father was an authorized repairman or something like that for the Fairchild Channel F. So Willie had tons and tons of parts, and he's like, dude, I just got rid of all that just before you bought this thing. So if anyone wants to help me get going on my Channel F, not for free, I'm not looking for fucking handouts. I mean, if you want it, that's cool, but whatever. I actually appreciate that kind of support to the channel because it helps give me content, but I also feel bad on the other end. But long story short, I don't have really any experience with this at all. See, now there's another obscure console. And I don't remember what it's called, but I remember I had a cartridge for it. It was really long. It had something that looked like the Millennium Falcon on the front, and it was shaped like an Atari 2600 one. Valley something or other. That should have been on here, and I would have put it in the no opinion. I'm not stopping this video at this point. So, but yeah, a lot of innovation with this. The cartridge format, the fact that it was the first console designed by a gentleman of color. We'll just call it that. I don't know what the proper term is anymore. Actually, he recently passed away, or was it his birthday? I can't remember. No, he passed away a handful of years ago, but his birthday was here recently. It was nice to see Google. Actually, if I remember correctly, Google did a thing for him on their main page, so really good shit. Really good shit. So, next, we have the almighty Sega Genesis. Where do I put this? It could go in any of these three depending on who you're talking about. You know it's going to go in these two because of me. Fuck you, it's going in God. The Sega Genesis just destroys everything. The Sega Genesis is that monolith, that fucking Godzilla, that monster that reeks upon the earth. It's evil and it's horrible intentions, and it wants to do harm, like leave Lego out for you to step on and stretch your bed corner a little bit so you stub your toe because you're not used to where it is now. That is what Nintendo don't. And I don't really need to say anything more about it. The Sega Genesis is where gaming should have stopped. We had arrived. We arrived. And I don't think I have a Super Nintendo in here. Oh, no. I completely forgot the Super Nintendo. You know where I would put the Super Nintendo in? Meh. Dead serious. I'd put it in Meh. You know why? I didn't have a lot of experience with it. I played a few games. As a matter of fact, right around the corner from where I'm living now is this kid named Matt. I'm still friends with his sister, and her and I talk quite often because we're both artists, and we're both into creepy. His house was the first place I saw one, and I think they were playing some of the Super Star Wars games. But I never really played the Super Nintendo back then. I didn't give a fuck about it because of this guy. So I apologize. That was a subconscious thing. You know what? Fuck you. I'm just going to say I did that on purpose because I do ruffle your feathers. But it would go in here because I really didn't have a lot of experience with it growing up. I do appreciate it now, but I honestly don't. I'm not a fan of it. The sounds just seem too choppy. I know it's like real samples of real instruments, and it was an upgrade or an innovation, but it has like it's like choppy. It's like whenever something stops making noise, there's like an abrupt and then it starts back up. It's like a hiccup in the music. It bothers me. I don't know if anyone else on the planet. Maybe it's because I'm mentally ill. I don't know. Fuck the Super Nintendo. Moving on. The N64. Fucking trash. Moving on. The Nintendo Entertainment System. The Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm going to put this... I'm actually just stopping there so I can move the screen a little bit. I had one. I had one after, if you don't know, this is the order in which my gaming life was. Right here. Boom. I got this. My friend gave me one of these because his dad gave him one and his mom gave him one. They weren't together. And then I bought one of these when it was new. I'm putting the Nintendo NES right here. Nintendo should be God level. But if we're going to talk about the 8-bit world, I'm a Master System guy. And it's because I just enjoyed what was on there better. I had the NES. You know, I had the NES, and I remember being wowed by it. And the only thing that would truly make it a god for me is its Phoenix level uprising. Seriously, we fucked up this industry real bad. And it took Japan to come over here and be like, Atari almost got their hands on the NES to distribute and everything. I hope you know that. I made a whole fucking video about it. But thank God everything went the way it did. Thank God Atari was being fucking petty because they legit were saying, you know what, let's take this thing, use this to make a few bucks to release our own stuff. And then we'll just scrap this. You know, that was the trajectory of the NES. And thank God that deal didn't go through because I honestly believe gaming wouldn't be where it is had this little ugly fucking box that never worked. Think about it. Between this and the Xbox 360, The only thing I could think of in the past is people always fucking with them, tinkering with them. They were always like, the shells were always ripped off of the 360. People were always fucking Frankensteining parts for them. They were not designed well. They were not fucking built very well. But the NES is iconic. I pick on it a lot. Fuck the Super Nintendo. Fuck N64. Right up there, stupid little console assholes. Wherever that would be. The NES is, I believe, like the Atari 2600, the NES. Bam! They're up there. But because I am more of a Sega fanboy, I will put the NES in great. I understand it is probably the number one most revered console of all time. Relatively speaking, in my generation. But that's where I rank that one. The original PlayStation. I'm going to put that right here in great. I kind of not gave up on gaming during the 16-bit. I just left it at that. You know what I mean? The CD format just seemed too futuristic, and the controller just looked so fucking bizarre. Please go back in time in your head. And look at what we were playing with. And then this came out. And then I found out it was because the whole Nintendo debacle and the Philips debacle. And then my friend played, let's see, it was Symphony of the Night that really clinched it for me, but it was Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen. That I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. This is serious shit. See, here in the PS2 era where we start getting into a dangerous area of games being fun and individual, meaning you can look at the TV and know the console without looking at the console, as long as it's not an exclusive game. Let's say it was a game for multiple consoles, okay? Without looking at the console, you can look at the TV and say, oh, he's playing PlayStation today. Oh, he's got an N64. Oh, he's playing this. Once you get past the PS2, that's fucking gone. It's gone. I believe the PS1 was the very last console to have its own fucking flavor. A little bit of the PS2 era, but then the Xbox came out, and that's when all of that went to shit. Great console. Also had its problems, but it's still solid as a rock. In fact, I don't know why I don't have one. I do. Because I don't have fucking space for it. I had a nice boxed one. I have a story about when I picked it up. Or no, when I sold it. It was an individual with mental health challenges, I found out afterwards. But it was such a grueling interaction back and forth. But it worked out for the best. A smile on the cat's face when he opened that box and saw that he was going to own his own PlayStation. That was where it was. That's where it was at. The Sega Master System. Oh my God. I often have trouble saying to myself, do I like the Master System more than the Genesis or vice versa? This was my 8-bit honey. I did not own one. My buddy Gerald owned one of those. So it was his home, as well as your Coleco and the Atom and all that. So Gerald had the Atari, the Master System, and the Coleco. I had the Atari and the NES. And that's how we would do it. We'd go over, Chris, can we play the NES today? Okay, let's go to my house. Or bring it over, you know. I spent more time in his basement playing this fucking console than I have anything else. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. There's a console I associate with this that I was hoping I didn't forget. Because I'm glad we're going to be talking about that one next. That one might piss a few people off, but it's all right. That's what I'm here to do, right? Oh, happy St. Patty's Day, by the way. I don't give a shit. I truly don't. Slantine, okay? There you go. I am Irish, but I don't drink. After this, I'm going to go smoke a bowl. I got actually a Zoom appointment in 20 minutes, so I got to finish this shit up. So, yeah, the Master System. The sounds of the Master System, I think, are so much more iconic in my world than the NES ones. I like the aesthetic of it better. It reminds me of a Trans Am. You know, it really does. It has that legit 80s retro futuristic. I wish I'd never gotten rid of mine. I had a nice stack of games, and again, a boxed complete console with the snail game. It was an early model. Yeah, such a fantastic. The catalog is amazing. You could use these little cards, or you could use the cartridge. It was backwards compatible with the Game Gear, I believe. So you could alter it to play those too. Really great console. Really, you could tap into it to get into the sound. Oh, there was FM synthesis or something like that inside. You tell me. I'm not a tech guy. Amazing console all around. It's just sad that Nintendo just fucking ate up the market. They just ate up the market with their illegal practices. And I know overseas in Europe, this was the shit. In fact, NES didn't do shit over there. But I love the Master System. I can't put it at God tier because it didn't break through to anything, honestly. I believe these two consoles did something super terrifical. Versus this was just a console that I enjoyed the shit out of growing up. The TurboGrafx 16. Let me tell you the story again, how I got introduced to it. I used to hang around with this chick named Jen. Ended up marrying her best friend. And her brother had a Vectrex. We'll talk about the Vectrex here. It looks like next anyway. One day the mom just randomly came home with this thing called the TurboGrafx. Never even heard of it. I don't even know. She's not a video game person. I don't know if she won it or if it was a gift or she just saw it in the store. Maybe it was dirt cheap because no one fucking heard of this thing. And she brought it home and it came with Keith Courage, I believe, and she purchased Alien Crush. And I remember from that moment on, whenever I went over there, I would spend at least an hour just ignoring them. Sitting there. She had like this little bar that you could roll around, a little padding, like a bar. And that's where it was, this little TV. And I had my headphones on. And at the time, I was really rotating Styx Grand Illusion, Alice Cooper's Greatest Hits, and a few others. And I'd just sit there for hours listening to like Styx and playing Alien Crush. Once in a while, I'd pick up Keith Courage, but I was so burnt out on fucking platformers at that point. I was done. Enough with the fucking platformers, right? But TurboGrafx 16, such an amazing console. I have a hard time putting this anywhere. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of experience with it, aside from just that one game growing up. So I had to put it in the good. I'd like to put it in great, but fuck how much that shit costs now. Fuck that. Fuck that. It's not even, I don't even think it's fair how much this shit costs. Fantastic system, little more obscure. Fuck your prices. Fuck your prices. Oh, that's another one I forgot. I forgot the Jaguar. All right, well, we'll talk about that. The Vectrex. I just mentioned that house. I'm putting the Vectrex here in meh. All right. Almost good. It's literally like if I were able to leave it, I would leave it right here. That'd be interesting, guys. If you're part of the developers of this and you're watching some people's videos to get an idea what to add a feature where I can just kind of do that, right? I can put like a 60-40 split or a 30-70, That would be legit. But regardless, I'm going to put it in the meh. It was a cool console. It really is a cool console. TV, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Personal arcade system. That controller was caca. The layout on it was caca. I didn't like it. It always buzzed loud. I know these are like the quirks, the things that people dig about this thing, but I never really got the concept of it. I was never into the vector graphics thing, and I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for thinking that. And I would absolutely love a Vectrex. And I know I would play the fuck out of it. But in the scheme of everything we're looking at up here, I had to put it here in the meh. Because I only played a handful of games. It never really kept my attention. Maybe that's the important thing. It never kept my attention. So, in that, I have to put it in meh. It is a good console. It's pretty cool. It's neat for what it is. They tried to innovate. I don't think it furthered anything, so it can't really go up in this area. And I just didn't enjoy myself with it that much. Maybe things will change now if I were to have gotten my hands on one. But fuck, again, paying that much for one of those. The Atari XEGS. This is kind of a cheating one because I didn't have one of these growing up. I didn't even know it existed until I was an adult. But then again, you can say that about, the O2 here. I'm going to put this in good. It is a great system. It is a fantastic system. The only thing I'm going to say that makes it in the good tier is, again, its cost. I don't really have a lot of nostalgia for it, but I bet you the 8-bit computer guys, which, again, we will talk about that if you want to, would put this in great or maybe even God tier. And despite its stupid gray 1987 aesthetic and in the pastel buttons, what's inside of it is what should have came out a handful of years earlier with the 5200. It's an 8-bit computer, disguising itself as strictly a game console. So much like the Odyssey 2 is a game console first that has a keyboard and some computer abilities, this is literally a game. It's marketed as a game console that you can use as a computer. And it's compatible with all your 400, 800, the Atari, and of course the XE line of cartridges. So your catalog is ginormous. I often tell people when they ask me, what Atari 2600 or what Atari should I get? And my answers usually toggle between this and the 7800. 7800s are fairly easy to find at a reasonable price. The games are easy to find at extremely reasonable prices, especially if you go backwards compatible with the 2600. Whereas the XEGS isn't as readily available and as consumer friendly to the wallet, so to speak. But I think it is one of the greatest things Atari has ever made. I really do. I wish they weren't so fucking stupid back then. I wish the things that were great came out when they should have come out. Like the XEGS. That should have come out sometime around the 5200/7800 era. Had, of course, everything else not go to fuck. But I believe the XEGS would have been the one to end all the cartridge-based ones, aside from the 16-bit. You know what I'm talking about. You get the vibe I'm going with. So the last console I guess I want to talk about, and the only reason I put this here was to put it in the trash. I wasn't even going to go this far, but it was a cartridge-based system. The Atari Jaguar. If I were to put it anywhere, I would put it probably 50-50 in Matt and Good, and that's going to be based on experience only. I did play a little bit of Cybermorph about 2-3 weeks ago when I got the console. Whenever I got the console, that following week I played it a little bit, or the week after, whatever. And I started getting used to the controls. I have to do that again because it's been a little while now again. But that's probably going to be the next thing we look at. I did experience it when it was new. I keep talking about my buddy Mike, who was an Atari diehard. He had the Lynx. He had the Jaguar, day one. And I remember not really being all that impressed. And in fact, I had the same mindset that a lot of people did. Atari's dead. I kept seeing the ads, and at the time it seemed like it was stretching. You know, it felt like that. And unfortunately, I was just your basic bitch when it came to the consumer market of video games. And that's how I perceived it, you know. And then from there on, it was really just about my Atari and my Genesis until the original PlayStation retickled that love for video games. And that's mainly why it's right here. So, there you go. Holy hell. I hope some of that made sense to you. I hope I didn't go on too many fucking tangents left, right, and the other. But I thought it would be fun to do this, and we're going to do more. So let me know if there's, first of all, if there's a console that I may have forgotten. Let me know down in the comments below. I know I can trust on you. Count on you. There's a dude, 5 Watt World, who used to say that. If I forgot any of your favorite artists that played this guitar, let me know in the comments. I know I can count on you. And I think that was kind of a passive-aggressive way of saying what we all know he was saying. So, but yeah, that was fucking fun. I mean, I kind of knew where everything was going. I really did, but in the moment, like a few things changed. There was a few things I was, doing this with. So, and I wish there was an option to do kind of in the middle between a couple of things. But if I'm not too stupid, I will leave a link below to this. Yeah, I was watching some videos earlier. Yeah, link to the tier. Maybe you make your own video on this and add to it. I hope you can add to it. If not, I will try to remember to add the Jaguar, and I'll try to remember. There was two other ones. There was that Valley something console. I don't know. I can't remember. I'll watch this again and try to remember to add what's not there. So I got to get ready for my thing. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I really do. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All feedback to the Creep is positive. Link down below. We're going to start really hitting this pretty hard. I need sponsors. If you want to be on the next shirt, let me know. I already have Bacon Ice Cream Productions, and that's it. So I'm going to reach out to a couple of cats, and hopefully more people will come in. Sponsored by Walk Down Alzheimer's. All you have to do is have a product or service that you're willing to donate for a certain amount of donations. However you choose to do it, as long as the money goes to the Alzheimer's Association in some way or form, I don't care, through my link. Or just donate $100 in the name of your channel, your company, your whatever, your troop, if you're a 501 or a Mandalorian Merc or whatever. If you just want to sponsor it, please, let's get this done. I'm going to put a deadline on it by the end of April. I'm going to have the t-shirts finalized. So I'm going to give everyone time. I'll make a whole video about it. In the meantime, click on the link and donate if you can. If not, share the link, because I'm sure there's somebody that you know that feels the same way I do about this fucking disease. And maybe you're not thinking about that because it's in their extended whatever. And guys, thank you for watching. I can't say that enough. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. And until next time, take care. Creep it real. I want to see your lists. Tag me or whatever the fuck. And bye-bye.